This is Matt Watchinski, Senior Director of the Vulnerability Research Team here at Sourcefire, and this is the Vulnerability Report for August 2009. In this month's report, we'll be going over the latest and greatest Microsoft patches for Patch Tuesday and talk about some of the interesting things that are going on with DHCLIENT and BIND 9. Microsoft released 9 patches covering a number of different CVEs. Out of these 9 patches, we find 3 of these bugs interesting. The first one is MS09-037, and this is for the Microsoft Active Template Library, which was actually covered in an out-of-band patch late last month. This is currently being actively exploited on the Internet ecosystem. The next interesting bulletin is MS09-038, which concerns the parsing of AVI files. This issue is split into 2 parts. The first is a problem in the header portion of the file, which results in a double free vulnerability. The second CVE relates to the parsing of the actual file and is easily reverse engineered and results in a remote code execution on Windows XP SP1, 2000, and 2003. The third bulletin of interest is MS09-044, which is a vulnerability in the Microsoft Terminal Services Client and can be exploited via an ActiveX control. Exploit code for this is not currently available, but we expect this to change very shortly. On the Sourcefire front, we have 2 projects that are looking to release major enhancements. The dev team has been busting their humps getting Snort 285 ready for public consumption, and a release candidate is now available. If you're a Snort shop, head over to snort.org and grab the 285 release candidate and get to testing. We haven't got a firm release test yet, but it's probably safe to say that it'll be out very soon. In particular, from a management perspective, there are 2 things you need to check out with 285. First is the ability to update both the configuration and the rules without having to stop and restart the Snort process. This should make things significantly easier on the admin side. The other change is the ability to write out custom Snort configurations based on VLAN tags and/or CIDR blocks. You guys should be able to do a lot more tuning to specific areas of your network with this capability. Make sure you keep an eye on the VRT blog for updated information and recommendations on how to implement these changes. There are a lot more improvements in 285, including some pretty solid performance enhancements that we'll talk about next time I see you guys. For now, grab the RC and understand how the changes we've made will impact your environment. The other big project that's received some love recently is Lurene's Byakugan project. Byakugan is a WinDBG plugin that helps with exploit development. Some of the recent vulnerabilities that have been found by the research team had very specific requirements for return address necessary to reach arbitrary code execution. To help us out, Lurene added some improvements to the in-memory opcode pointer search functionality. To check it out, head over to the Metasploit website. You can find Byakugan as part of the Metasploit project in SVN. One common white hat complaint is the hard outer shell in the soft GUI center. Because of this, the VRT watched with some degree of puzzlement when on July 14th, the ISC disclosed a stack buffer overflow in the DHCLIENT application and no one seemed to care. It wasn't until Lurene pointed out some details on the VRT blog that other security news outlets picked up this story. This was a vulnerability that defines the soft GUI center. If your distribution doesn't have stack cookie protection, this vulnerability easily leads to remote code execution. I guarantee you that pen testers will be finding boxes with this vulnerability for many years to come. Don't be that guy and patch your stuff. In July, attacks against the BIND name server were discovered in the wild. Using a single packet, attackers were sending dynamic DNS update messages where the message contained a record type of any. This would lead to a denial of service condition. Single packet, unauthenticated attacks are highly desirable, and this vulnerability fixed the bill perfectly. Given that the transport is over UDP and therefore easily forged, just makes this vulnerability that much sweeter. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for this month's Vulnerability Report. Thank you guys for joining us. But before I leave, I'd like to throw out a thank you to a bunch of our friends from Black Hat and DEF CON. A thank you to Microsoft, iDefense, and IOActive for hosting wonderful parties that we all got to attend. Byakugan, Byakugan, Byakugan.
It's Byakugan. Bukakugan.
Big Octagon.
Byakugan.
It's the Octagon.
Byakugan.
4 yaks and a dog.
Badongadon?
Octagon? Octagon. Nigel?
Octagon.
It's Byakugan.
I am a douchebag.
So I touched my hair, and like all of a sudden, like I had this like, big piece like standing up there, and I was like, "Fix your hair." And Matt's like, "What happened?" And I turned it on, like I touched myself, and everything went horribly wrong.
That sounds just like AVI file format.
One of the common white hat complaints is the hard outer shell software. Oh, that was awesome.